Alright, what I want to today is take a look at complex manabases. That is, manabases of 4 or 5 colors. So I have Kenrith, Omnath, Saskia. Saskia is 4 colors. Omnath and Kenrith are 5 colors each. And I want to kind of go over the complexities and the considerations that you have to make when you're making a 5-color manabase or 4-color manabase. And I do recognize that even a 3-color or 2-color can be tricky if you want a lot of utility lands and you really don't have enough of your colors. It can make it more difficult to get the colors you need when you need them. So let's start with Kenrith. He's pretty basic in more ways than one. All of his lands, barring 3, are basic lands. He has a Fabled Passage, he has a Thawing Glaciers, and he has a Mana Confluence. Other than that, it's all basics. What I want to do though is I want to replace the Mana Confluence with a Prismatic Vista when I can acquire one. But right now my OGS doesn't have any. None at all. No printing, so I've got to wait for MKM. The thing about Kenrith is the reason I did this, the reason it went to basics, is I wanted to... he's powerful. He can do a lot of things. A lot of things. And he can do them all at instant speed. And he can do them to your opponents as well as for you. So, I thought if I just go with basics, that will mitigate some of the strengths of the deck. And it has. It makes it a little bit harder to find my colors. But here's the trick. He doesn't really need all of his colors that quickly. That's the other thing to think about is when you're building a when you're building any mana base, you need to think about how quickly do you need access to all the colors inherent. So for Kenrith, he's a white creature, 4 and a white. So if I want to get him out as quickly as possible, I only need 1 white and 4 other sources of mana. It doesn't matter what they are. If I want to activate his abilities, that's when it starts getting tricky. If I want to start activating and casting other spells, that's when it gets tricky too, like Mr. Voxcliff here. He needs 3 colors. Archangel 2 needs double color. Burgeoning only needs 1. Triple. But at least it's 2 colors, so a little bit easier to cast. And the thing is, what I'm leading to with Kenrith is playing out of the graveyard. So because I'm leaning on playing out of the graveyard, yeah, and I threw one of those in there. Back to basics. 2 and a blue enchantment, non-basic lands to untap during the controller's untap steps. So... this is what pushes the deck into bracket 4. It's bracket 4 because I have mass land denial. I also have a Vampiric Tutor to help me go find my back to basics. Because even though I don't like it when it happens to me, the idea that somehow, sometime, you might face a Blood Moon, you might face a back to basics, you might face a Winter Orb, it's something you need to keep in mind in Commander. Somebody's going to play it. Maybe not somebody in your regular group because they know it's not accepted, that people don't like it, but somebody in some group somewhere that you sit down with, they'll run it. And maybe it'll be me, who knows. But the thing is, that's why it's important to have basic lands, a decent number of them, in your commander deck so you don't get blown out by Blood Moon, back to basics, any of that stuff. So let's look at a more complex mana base. Let's look at Saskia. And here, I'm also going to make a change to the decks as I go. Saskia and Omnath each have a change slated for them. So Kenrith, I'm not planning to run out as quickly as possible. Saskia, the draft version, the initial version of the deck, 1.0, I did plan to run her out as quickly as possible. And what happens. So I get a couple creatures that are good attackers, maybe something shadow, maybe something with a attack or damage trigger. Some interesting creatures so I can damage 2 people at the same time. Right? Get those down. Get her down. Declare somebody as my enemy. Say a name, pick somebody, and say you are now going to get hit when any of these other 2 schmucks get hit. How do you like that? Well, usually they don't like it. And so they declare you the enemy back by default. It kind of makes sense. Even if you don't attack, if you don't do that much damage, they still don't like the fact that you targeted them with Saskia. So that turned out to be not only not a good idea, because the hard feelings are generated sometimes. If she comes down, you might not know who the real threat is yet. Somebody might have a new deck. Somebody might have the better deck, but they're not getting the good draws, and the person with the deck you didn't think was a threat, they're getting the good draws, and they're going off. Well, you need to bounce her back to your hand somehow, flicker her somehow, reset her, to target the guy who's the actual threat. Because you declared it too early. And then the other thing was that I just didn't want to do that so much. So what I did is I changed the deck into a tokens deck. So now it's a token strategy deck. Saskia is there for the colors and for, like, as with my Hirobi deck, if everything's aligned, if everything's in perfect order, I've got a good token army, then I will bring her down and declare a target. I would declare somebody who's going to be taking a lot of damage when somebody else does. And the deck runs a lot smoother. That said, the mana base still has some problems. Let's start with the triomes. So I gave her 3 triomes. Let's just call the Opal Palace a triome too, because that's basically, no, Path of Ancestry is basically a triome. So Jetmir's Garden, into the triome, Savai triome, Path of Ancestry. Actually, no, I won't cut the triome because it's not searchable. That's why I'm doing this, why I'm showing this. I should think about this a few seconds before I say it. But I normally don't like doing that. Okay. So what do these give me? Oh. Anyway. So this gives me black, red, white, black, green, white, green, red, white. So between the 3, that's 3 white, 2 red, 2 green, 2 black. Not bad. Not bad at all. But do I need them? Kind of, but Omnath needs this more. You remember what I said about running your commander out as quickly as possible? So Saskia, I'm not planning to run her out as quickly as possible, so I don't need all 4 colors of mana immediately. Now, if I draw the right combination of cards, I might want 4 mana quickly. I might want all four colors quickly if I draw cards that demand it, but that's typically not the case. With her, with me not wanting to cast her out at the first opportunity, get to 4 mana on turn 4, drop Saskia and start smashing people, then it doesn't become as important to have access to all of her colors. And again, take this all with grains of salt. This is all kind of gross terms, kind of the broad swath of the conversation. So because I don't need her to come out as quickly, I don't need the 4 colors immediately, but he does. Omnath does, because I want to run him out as quickly as possible, so he's a black mana battery that draws me cards. Bang. On turn 4, I want blue, green, red, white. I'll pay the 2 life, don't give a shit, I'll pay 2 life on turn 4. Get him down, and then if I've got other mana, mana rocks and whatever, then I can start dumping that in my mana pool at the end of the turn of the opponent preceding me, and then go to town and start drawing an extra card each turn because of his pre-combat trigger. Where I look at the top card of my library, fucking airplanes. It's great they changed the flight line. So, for that reason, Saskia is going to be losing Jetmir's Gardens to Omnath. I don't know what I'm going to take out yet. I'll figure that out later. But that just happened. That's a change I am going to make because he does need it more. He has the was it Zagoth Triumph, I believe it is. Yeah, he's got the Zagoth. So now he's got access to all 5 colors via 2 Triumphs. So that's better for him. I'll take out the other land later. And what does Saskia lose? So she lost. She still has double black, double white, only 1 red, and 1 green. But it's still access between these 2 cards. It's still access to all of her colors. So fair enough. That should still work pretty well. That should be effective. What I really should do probably is get another Jetmir's Garden, but that's not going to happen anytime soon. So there's the triumphs for her. And then I've got this command tower that comes into play tapped. She's got a few humans in the deck, so if I cast a human, then I'll get to scry 1 because it shares a type with it. If she shares a type with this, I still don't. This makes no goddamn sense to me, but everybody says that's the way it works, so I do it. I say, you know, if everybody says it, and the rules say it, it must be true. Add 1 mana of any color in your commander's color identity. When that mana is spent to cast a creature spell that shares a creature type with your commander, scry 1. How the fuck does she share a creature type with herself? That's the part I just can't absorb. Doesn't fit. But okay, I'll scry 1, fine. Ancient Tomb. So, because the colors are important, she's got a lot of X spells. Arachnogenesis, Perforos, a lot of spells with colorless mana requirements, Grand Crescendo, X spells, where I want that extra mana to go faster, but I don't need to go that fast, especially at the cost of 2 life a turn. And another nail in the coffin of Ancient Tomb, no pun intended, is it's a game changer. She's got 4 game changers right now. So if I take out Ancient Tomb and put in just Temple of the False fucking God, if I put that in, then it drops her from bracket 4 to 3. Even though the lads I play with and I are not really using the brackets, we talk about it. I don't like the idea that I'm sitting down with them with what is a bracket 4 deck. And usually, when they complain about the cards I play, usually it's the lands. Tony and his bullshit lands. That's what I hear. Well, I tell them, Forest Stronghold is only 50 euros right now. You should fucking get one. It's a reserveless card. It's only going to go up, and it's really good. You have my Hollow. It's down to 60 euros. You should fucking get one. It's good, and it's only going to... But do they listen to me? No. What do? If they've got 50 euros to spend on Magic cards, they go buy a Precon. I've got 50 euros in Magic cards. I go buy singles. I would rather send that money to support some semi-local business, either my LGS or some other European shop or just some seller on Magic Card Market. I'd rather money go to him than Wizards. Fuck Wizards. They kiss my ass. Even though the money that I spend on new product, some of it does stick to my LGS, but then some of it has been funneled up the chain to Hasbro. And it kind of doesn't matter what I buy from my LGS. They will still get some money from me, so I might as well buy singles. Might as well buy cards to build more Commander decks to show all of you that I love and enjoy them. Alright. So, Ancient Tomb is going to come out. I don't know what I'm going to put in for it. I don't. But I have a good idea. So let's skip to... Well, let's just skip to the chase. so I don't keep you hanging and I don't forget. So right now she has 2, 4, 6. This got stuck there. Where the hell is the arid mason? Yeah. Sorry, let's do this way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. She has 5 pairs of shocks and fetches. She's missing one. She's missing Bloodstained Mire and Blood Crypt. I didn't have one of those extra when I built the deck. So Ancient Tomb and Jetmir's Garden should become, once I can acquire them, Bloodstained Mire and Blood Crypt. So that's what I'm going to do. I'll just set these and that's what they'll be. Because there have been times when I've been goldfishing her or playing her and I've broken a fetch land and I thought, I really want black-red. That's right. I don't have a Blood Crypt in this deck. So I need to shore that up. The other problem with making a multicolor, and the more colors you have, the worse this gets. If you have a black-blue deck and you're running Volraz Stronghold, the opportunity cost of this only producing colorless isn't so high, because if you're only playing black-blue, you will not have Yavimaya Hollow. You will not have other utility lands that are in that color identity. That are not in that color identity, rather. So, her identity, color identity being everything but blue, means I can put in every utility land that I think is cool, except one's blue. So that's why she has Yavimaya Hollow and Volraz Stronghold. Each one of those cuts a land that produces colored mana off. Gone. Same with High Market, which I've been thinking maybe she doesn't need High Market because she's a token strategy. The reason I put High Market in so many decks really is to head off a Path to Exile, Swords, Plowshares, anything that would exile the key creature. So I can kill it myself, get it back out of the graveyard later. That's the whole idea behind it. But these 3 lands, for example, if she was black-green, I would still have these 2. But if she was blue-red-black, I wouldn't have Yavimaya Hollow, so that would be something that produces, or it'd be another utility land in those colors. Yavimaya Hollow, or sorry, Yavimaya Cradle of Growth. This will solve my problems with getting green, because green becomes a central color. If you have a deck with green, it becomes the linchpin color, because green finds you other lands. Green is mana search. Green is ramp. Yes, you have artifacts, but typically green is the best color, the premier color at finding you more lands. So green becomes critical to a deck like this. Hammerheim that just replaces a mountain. I just played because I have one. I bought more than I really should have when I got into EDH, when I got into Commander. And I just love the art. And I knew I would build more decks with the red, so that's in here as a mountain. Reflecting Pool. So this this can be really frustrating, or it can save your ass. If you need double black and you don't have any source of black, this becomes even more frustrating, because you think, if only I had a single swamp, just one, God, this would give me double black. But if you do the double black or the double white, as long as you have the initial color, this can save you. This is a great card, as long as you have that color. Otherwise, it just frustrates you. Guy's Cradle she's a tokens deck, so she gets the one of the 3 cradles that I own, which is a dead card if you have no creatures. Somebody wipes the board, somebody does Wrath of God, your Guy's Cradle just sits there and is more frustrating than a Reflecting Pool. City of Brass. I'm thinking maybe she doesn't need this so much. I'm thinking about it, but I haven't taken it out yet, because I like this 5th edition art. I like City of Brass, and it does reliably give me any color I need. It just costs me life. The reason Omnath does not have it, and she does, is she is better at getting me life than Omnath. Omnath has very minimal life gain. In fact, I think his copy of Kenrith is the only life gain I have. I might have another source, but I don't think so. Command tower, of course. You're playing commander. I need a goddamn tower. I've got this Taiga, and the only reason she has a Taiga is because I've got no other deck that really needs it. I've got other decks. I could put it in Korvold, I can put it in Omnath, I could put it in, what other deck? Voya. I just, whatever reason, gave it to Saskia because of the fact that I am running all these Shocklands and they can hurt me. In fact, I could take out the Stomping Ground and just run Taiga in its place. But I like the visual of having the 6 matching Shocklands. I like the visual of having the fetches. So that's another reason to get the Blood Crypt and Blessing Mire. Opal Palace. If I do get her down, she's going to get killed. She's going to get killed a few times. That said, I don't really need this because she's... What is she going to get? She's going to get... so if I spend 6 for her, then she'll be a 4/5 with this, if I have this in play. I'm really thinking now I don't need this in here. I don't want it. The main reason I have this in here is for the fact that maybe I do want to get the colors quicker, and I need more ways to find them. There's some stuff on the sleeve. So I'm gonna actually think about taking that out. Maybe I can find some. I should just put in a Rainbow Veil. Rainbow Veil. Pretend this is Rainbow Veil, the beautiful card that it is. So Rainbow Veil taps for 1 mana of any color. At the end of your turn, its control passes to another opponent. So what you do is you play the Rainbow Veil, you tap it, or before you tap it, you ask somebody who's kind of managed, you say, hey, if I tap this and I give it to you, are you going to tap it on your turn and give it back to me? Will you agree to do that? And if they agree, then go to town. If they don't agree, ask the other 2 lads. One of them will agree because he needs the mana. Still there's some stuff on that sleeve. Oh well. Okay. You have my Cradle of Growth. Solves my problem with green. This solves my problem with black. And I'm pretty sure it was Tricky Mage. I'm really sure because this sounds like something he would talk about. He's talking about Cabal Coffers. Why do you run it? Why would you run Cabal Coffers in a deck where you don't have big X spells? Well, she does have big X spells. She does. And I'm running Coffers because I own one to go. Whenever I buy an Urborg, typically I buy Coffers too. I buy them in pairs. Because if you're going to run Urborg Tomb of Yawgmoth, why wouldn't you run Cabal Coffers? I mean, just slide it in there. It's great. So I've got that. And then her basics, she's got, oh, and these Exotic Orchard. So, if you're playing a 5-color deck, you can pretty much, you can kind of count on getting at least 3 of your colors. With a 4-color deck, you probably are going to be getting 3 of your colors, almost always 2. If you sit down and you play this, 9 times somebody will be playing some flavor of green in a typical EDH pod. Somebody else, or maybe the same green, but somebody will be playing black. White is highly likely. Red is the color that fewer people play. Red is kind of a tacked add-on. It's the trailer of the colors for EDH. I hardly ever see any mono red decks. Usually if somebody is playing even Tyranids, the red, it's kind of just there. If you took the red out, you would lose haste, and you'd lose some of the things blow up artifacts and screw with people, but you'd have still big monsters and probably more counterspells. So, but overall, it's a great card for this, and I love the mouse. My daughter likes it too. Cute little mouse right there. So she's got 2, 4, 6. She's got 2 of each basic land. And what I need to do later is sit down and make sure that's a good mix of basics. So why does she have the basics at all? And then once you look at the lands you have, once you look at the lands you run, you need to think about your ramp. Okay, so she's got Fellwar Stone, which is basically an artifact version of Exotic Orchard. Although, in the order they came out, they were printed, Exotic Orchard is actually a land version of Fellwar Stone, because Fellwar Stone was printed back in 1994 in the dark. In the dark before time. Okay, yeah, Signet Lantern. Okay, what do I have for actual ramp in this deck? Okay, Nature's Lore finds me a forest. And that also finds one of the triomes, which is why I had the garden, because it would find the garden too. But it'll definitely find 3 visits, again, finds a forest. I thought I had in here a Gaia's Bounty. Yeah, there's one of the Game Changers that recently got promoted. That's what knocked her up from 3 to 4. Tempt with Discovery. Okay, so I only have 3 ramp cards. But I've got enough basics, so if I can find them, although I don't have any specific ways of finding basics other than drawing them, except for the forests, I shouldn't get blown out too bad by a Blood Moon. But anyway, so those are going to be Bloodstained Mire and Blood Crypt once I can acquire them. That really should be... I'm just going to run Rainbow Veil. So there we go. So that'll be her 4-color mana base. Let's look at this 5-color mana base for Omnath and see what's kind of different. Okay, with Omnath, I do want him out as quickly as possible. So I want to hit my colors on curve, on par, so I can get him down and start running with him. Let's just make the change now. We'll just do that. So the Reaver Cleaver is coming out. A lot of you now are screaming at me, no, don't do it. It's a great card. You're right, it is a great card. The problem is, this deck I'm not attacking so much. So what I need is a way to get the lands down faster. I need speed. And the deck draws cards pretty... I don't have that many ways to draw cards, but the ones I do have, when they come online, they're pretty reliable. So, again, we're talking about the mana base, so this is germane, this is relevant. Why would you have Burgeoning instead of Exploration, instead of... If you can run both, but why would you choose one or the other? So Exploration is better in a fast deck where you've got a lot of lands and you want to play extra lands on your turn for some reason, some landfall trigger that will pump up your creatures, something interesting to happen. Burgeoning, if you're drawing a lot of cards at different phases of the game, say you can draw cards on your opponent's turn, then you want Burgeoning so you can play those lands, especially if you have a lot of shock lands. If you have a lot of shock lands and triomes, you want to play those on your opponent's turn so you can play them tapped, and they will untap and be ready on your turn. Plus, Exploration, it's there. It says you can play an additional land each turn. Just do it. Burgeoning says whenever an opponent plays land, you may put a land card in your hand on the battlefield. Well, if nobody plays any land and you're kind of hoping they did and they don't, well, sucks to be you. Discard at the end of your turn when it comes to your turn, motherfucker. So Burgeoning has a higher potential payoff, but a greater risk. Alright, so let's look at Omnath. Now you saw Saskia. Her shocks and fetches are all over the place in her colors. She's got, except for the black-red ones, which I talked about, she's got everything but blue. She's got 6 of the 10 possible fetches and shocks. For Omnath, what I did is I centered it on green. So he only has the fetches and shocks. He only has the shocks that have green, that are connected to a forest, and he only has the fetch lands that find forest. And the reason I did that is I don't need so much of the color, but I need it quickly. So I wanted to make sure, for example, if I need overgrown tomb and my shock is in, or sorry, my fetch is in arid mesa, well, actually then I can just find, I can just find the stopping ground with the arid mesa, or I could find the temple, well, okay. Why did I do this to myself again? Anyway, I did this to myself. So, also, for another reason, I wanted it to sound like I really put a lot of thought and effort and considered this. And I did. But really, one of the reasons is I don't have that many extra fetches and shocks. This is kind of scraping the barrel. This is digging out the last ones I had, setting aside for my my modern decks. I only have some water graves, one polluted delta, and a flooded strand, I think, left for extra fetches and shocks. So that's another reason I did centered it on green, because it's kind of what I had, but it works because each one centered on green means I can find any color I need. So if I want to get him down, if I've got the Verdant Catacombs, it will find any one of these colors. It will find reliably any one of these shocks. It will also find, now, if I give him Jetmir's Garden, and he's got the Zegoth Triumph, so now he has all the colors and they're centered on green. So turn one, I can fetch, and since all of them find force, I can find Zegoth Triumph if I think I'll need black or blue. If I get another fetch, doesn't matter what it is, because the fetches only find forest, so I know I'm going to get it. Because you can get mismatches between fetches and shocks. You can. It's kind of frustrating when that happens, when you think, shit, I really need a fucking blood crypt, but I can't find, I don't have a shock, or don't have a fetch that will get it for me. Son of a bitch. But this, any of the fetches will get Jetmir's Garden or Zegoth Triumph, and then I've got the black, blue, red, white, and green, so he's good to go. So let's set those there, because I will take a land out for that Jetmir's Garden. Okay, you have my Critical Growth. It solves all the problems with green. As with Saskia, he's got a lot of green search cards. He has more than she does. Because I centered everything on forest, I put in, I think, an extra card to search for forest. As with her also, Urborg, and because I have Urborg, Cabal Coffers. And also because he acts as a black mana battery, so if I just dump a lot of mana in my mana pool and I don't spend it, he will store it if he's in play and keep it for me later. You have my Hollow, which is even more potential to bite you in the ass in a 5-color deck, because it only gives colorless mana. Unless, of course, I get the Dryad the Listen Grove that lets me, he turns all the lands into basic, gives them all basic land types. So I can tap this for any color if I have them in play. Exotic Orchard, same with Saskia. Only now, since we're talking 5 colors, it's even more likely that this will tap for a color I need, because somebody's going to be playing blue. Opal Palace, to be fair, she can make better use of it for the +1. It's more relevant for her. Do I really want this in here now? So this is in here to make sure I get one of the colors I need. And he's going to get killed. I want to run him out as quickly as possible. I know he's going to get killed. So having him come into play bigger is kind of nice. Gavany Township, it has the same problem as Yevmai Hollow and Alchemist Refuge. Skarg, they all have the same problem. Colorless. So unless I have the Dryad Listen Grove, these do not help me get my colors. But they do help me with the goal of the deck. Gavin Township, I want to put +1/+1 encounters on my creatures. It does that. This, taking out the Reaver Cleaver, makes this even more important because now this is the only reliable way I have of giving, unless I'm not thinking, actually no. I think this is the only way now of giving another creature trample. So green-red, tap, target creature gains +1/+1 trample until end of turn. The reason I don't think I need the Reaver Cleaver so badly is I don't plan to attack into an open board that often with this deck where I need the trample. I've got two creatures that, one gives all my creatures +1/+1 flying, and I've got Champion of Lap Dance. And Champion of Lap Dance, if she has a bunch of +1/+1 encounters on her, then anything smaller than she is can't block, thereby making my creatures to some degree of unblockable. That, and I've got a machine gun team, and if I gun down my opponent's board, there's nobody to block, so I don't need trample that badly. Now, getting the treasure tokens, that would be nice, but something's got to give, and getting lands down, I think that's more important than treasure tokens with the way this deck runs. So Alchemist's Refuge, this works really well with the Seedborn Muse. This is why it's in here. Why I'm taking the risk of it, I only get colorless mana. But I can blue and green, tap it, cast non-land cards as a Delayed Flash. That's any non-land card. Enchantment, sorcery, artifact, creature, whatever. Jukabog, I do have ways of bouncing lands. So I can play this, get it back, and use it again. I don't think Saskia had a bog, I'm not sure. Path of Ancestry,
Okay.
Commander. What? Can I finish? How does finish?
You will go for a bike hunting, no?
You- Yeah, whatever. So, Path of Ancestry comes to play tapped. Basically, Command Tower comes to play tapped. I've got a few elementals, so it's possible that I can cast one with this mana and scry. Reflecting Pool, same with Saskia. 5-color deck, Reflecting Pool becomes more interesting. Command Tower. Now you saw Saskia, she has 2 of every basic land for her colors. Omnath really doesn't need a whole lot of black. And I'm planning to cheat into play the creatures that need black, so I only have 1 swamp in here, other than the dual lands, the triomes. Blue, I need blue for some of the counter spells and some of the creatures I have, so blue is well represented. Forest, the forests are here because of all the green ramp cards I'm running. Red, because it's an important, it's number 3 in color importance, well, tied with white, kind of. So that's how I built this 5-color for Omnath. Although it doesn't really look like a 5-color mana base, because I should have all 10 shocks, all 10 fetches, right? But I don't. So anyway, what I need to do is take something out for the Jetmir's Garden. So I think I'm going to take out the Opal Palace, because Jetmir's Garden is searchable. I can find it with a fetch land. So it is more important to find my colors. Opal Palace I can't. So with all these fetches and 3 visits, Nature's Lore, I should be able to get to my colors pretty quickly. Okay, so I did the burgeoning. Let's make the change in Saskia, and then I'll get this posted. So, what am I going to take out? I'm going to take out, where the hell is it? This guy. The deck has Impact Tremors, it has War Leader's Call, and it has Perforos. Then I put this guy in, so she's tokens. The idea with her is I play tokens, and I hit people with War Leader's Call, Impact Tremors, Perforos, this guy. Or whenever I play a creature, each opponent takes 1 point of damage. Thing is, if I get stuck where I'm out of gas and I can't really cast so many creatures, I want something to do with the creatures I have. So I'm going to put Chiron Negotiations back in. So he will come out. So I'm losing a 2/3 Golem. Whenever another creature came into play into my control, 1 point of damage to each of my opponents. And I'm going to put in Chiron Negotiations. So red, 2 colorless, enchantment. Tap an untap creature I control, does 1 damage to target player. So that way if I have a bunch of creatures, but they're too small to attack, even if I've got her, you know, a bunch of 1/1s and I'm looking at an army of 5/5s, 8/8s, whatever, well, I just start blasting people with negotiation tactics. So 2 changes, 3 decks, multiple colors.